time shouldn't be that you start to feel like this is draining the joy out of you, because then your cup is empty.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Business Multiplier podcast series. So, today's topic is a topic that will be very interesting to a lot of you. We thought about what we wanted to share, and since this is the first time we're doing this, we thought that we should keep it quite general, right? We'll share a little bit about the different parts of business. In the future, we'll try to go very deep into one particular topic. But today, the topic of the day is how to build a valuable and scalable company without sacrificing your personal well-being. Why do you think it is important that the business owners who work with us keep in mind that they should not sacrifice their well-being just to achieve the valuable, scalable company? Either of you have anything to say? Why is this maintaining the well-being so important in business?
I think it's important for them to have a good quality of life, to have fun at home, and to take care of the people around them in the family. Running a business should not make you sacrifice your own family time or your own me time. That's really important, right? We all talk about that. We all talk about mental wellness, and we all talk about balancing stress out, at work and at home, compartmentalizing. I don't think that business owners should be stressed out about running their business, and we're here to help them.
I think we can't pour from an empty cup. And I think we say that a lot, right? And business owners, usually when you start out with a business, like setting up something, is because you were passionate about it. Like you saw promise and you really enjoy doing whatever it is that you were doing, and you decided to turn this into your business, right? So that was the starting point. And I feel that, it shouldn't be at any point in time, it shouldn't be that you start to feel like this is draining the joy out of you, because then your cup is empty. You cannot take care of yourself. You cannot take care of your team. You cannot take care of your family or your friends. And that's why we always talk about how it's very important to remember that the business is business, but try to have fun while doing it. And if you find yourself not having fun again, then that's why we are here to help you discover the joy in running a business again.
Definitely. And the thing is, business burnout can be such a real problem. Because if you think about it, when you're burnt out, it's like you have no more fighting power, right? If you are still okay, but then the business is not doing well, you still can find it in you to fight back. But imagine when you were saying like, you are an empty cup, then there's no more willpower to fight. Then that's the end of the game, which is why it is so important to preserve that. So again, in the game of building a valuable and scalable company, we have to talk about a few things. Obviously, valuable company comes with profits. And when we talk about profits, there are a few different subtopics, but let's start with one that is always a constant conversation among business owners, which is marketing. Like say in your past role, you were dabbling quite a lot in marketing, I believe. What are some of the common pitfalls or marketing pitfalls that SME and startup owners often face that erode their profitability?
I think a very common challenge that we see is that we are spending a lot of marketing dollars, but the tracking is not done in a consistent way, or maybe it's not even being done. So how do you know that your marketing dollars are bringing in the sales or the ROI that you are hoping to get, right? So sometimes the kind of things that we hear is, I spent a lot on marketing this month, but I'm not getting the kind of revenue that I was hoping for. So again, that's one. Are we tracking the spend properly? Number two, are we tracking the spend and knowing where it's going into the different platforms, and are we reaching out to the right audience when we say we are spending the marketing dollars? Say for example, if you're trying to reach out to very young Gen Z crowds, but you're spending all your marketing dollars on Facebook, it's kind of like barking up the wrong tree, right? And that's no surprise to say that, I'm not getting the revenue because you're not reaching the right audience, right? So that's one. Second, are we optimizing our marketing spend? So if we have a lot of marketing dollars, but we are not allocating it in the best way into the various buckets, then again, it could impact profitability as well, because you're not getting the revenue after having invested in your marketing. And thirdly, sometimes it's about the messaging. When we do marketing, are your ads punchy? Are they catchy? Are you communicating your unique selling propositions, your USPs very clearly across to your target audience? Because whatever exists in your head and it's not clearly communicated, that does not count. And is your USP truly a USP? So these are all the different things that we unravel, and we try to peel the layers to try and find out where exactly the marketing cost is going and how is it being spent, so that we can then optimize it and then bring in the revenue. And of course, the last thing is patience, because marketing doesn't generate revenue overnight. It's about creating awareness. It's about creating a funnel. So it usually takes weeks, maybe months before we can see return on investment. So we need patience as well. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think those are very, very useful things to look out for. I think this tracking thing is very real because we have seen quite a number of business owners, even mature companies, who, when we ask all these questions, right? Like, so what's the ROI of your ad spend? They don't have an answer for us. They have not been tracking because they were told that there is no need to track, or because they are given a fancy report at the end of every month that doesn't really say anything. And this is very, very real. And sometimes if you think about it, like how much do you spend every month on your marketing spend? And then if you don't know how much that can result to, you don't really track properly. We have seen a company where they are spending like easily $5,000 a month on marketing. And when we dissected all their various strategies, turns out that there's only 1 out of 4 that was generating positive return.
Yeah.
Which means they could have spent one
1,000.
quarter of the budget to achieve the same amount. Or they can put all the budget into that one channel that works, which would have quadrupled the sales. Do you see how big the impact is? Yeah, and then what if the number one question from the SME owners, right? Siyun, I have no budget. How?
Many different ways, right? Marketing. It's not always about, when we say marketing, we immediately think about thousands of dollars on ad spend, on like social media feeds. But marketing could be as simple as word of mouth. You have happy customers, could they refer you some of their friends? And that's a free form of marketing because your friends would trust your recommendations, right? And we always say like that's the lowest hanging fruit. That's the easiest way to get referrals or to get business without really spending too much money. Or it could just be a little bit of a reward to your customers, say, as a little form of thank you, just a little thank you to you for supporting our business. Here's a coffee voucher or something. A little bit can go a really long way. So that's one way we could do that. Second, it could be even things like positioning yourself as a leader or thought leader in that area. So if you are in fashion, it could be like, I know how to style you in the best way. So why not you just come down to our studio and let's have a styling session. And chances are this person will walk away buying a few pieces of your clothing because she liked what she tried on, right? So that's also a relatively cheap way of doing marketing without having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to Facebook or Google or Instagram or TikTok.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think this emphasizes that the Business Multiplier team always seeks to have quite creative ways to boost the results without spending too much money unnecessarily. We believe that you should spend money where it matters. Like there was a client of ours that used to spend very, very little on ad budget. And then when we check, her ads were performing very well.
Yep.
So in fact, just by adding the budget, it went up. Of course, initially she was, but Fel, not enough money. But then I always ask this question, if every time you put $1 in the machine, it gives you back $2, how many $1 coin would you put in? The answer is
Many.
many.
A lot.
Yeah, but again, sometimes we always think of the traditional ways of marketing that sometimes may cost you a lot more, but we feel that we should be quite resourceful in finding different ways first before we go for the big spending type of strategies. Now, leading, quite related to marketing, obviously will be cash flow, because nobody will want to buy a business with big cash flow issues, right? So maybe like both of you, Nick, you can start first. What are some of the common mistakes that business owners always make that get them into this cash flow trouble? And do you have any ways to help them get out of it?
I think to start off first, budgets are important, right? It's a pain to do that. It's actually quite silly sometimes if you think about it, if it's a small business. But it's very important to start with a budget, right? A budget helps you to plan for your expenditure and income for the year, how you're going to get that money in from your revenues, and what kind of revenues you expect, right? And as you plan this budget, it's also very important not to just do it for the sake of doing it and then leave it there, but to actually track, your budget variances along the way. This is important so that am I spending too much, too little? Am I getting in too much or too little? So that you also plan your cash flow in that process. Try not to have sudden big ticket items which were not planned for, right? Because this will erode your cash flow, and this will get you into a tough spot, lah, right?
I think in a lot of business owners, right, they value relationships a lot with their vendors, with their customers. So sometimes when customers pay them a little bit late or quite late, they are quite uncomfortable or awkward to chase for payment because they're worried about it affecting the relationship. So that's one, your customers are paying you late. On the other side of things, because they value their vendors and they know how it's like to be paid late, they try to pay on time with their vendors. So that creates a crunch, right, where your cash is flowing out, but you're not getting cash coming in. And so a lot of times we need to inculcate the need for discipline around your AP and AR, your collections. So it's about putting in place structures and processes to make sure that these things can happen and these conversations can happen if needed.
And I think the other thing is to be very outcome oriented when it comes to your sales. It may seem weird, but I have seen some business owners, I mean, both of you also probably have encountered, who are not very into sales, right? They love perfecting their craft, they love perfecting their product or whatever it is. They will do all the other things, optimize the other things, but then they are not very sales oriented. But I think we have to all agree that yes, cash flow problem, most of the time, if you just can increase your sales by quite a lot, it will help definitely among all the other things that have been mentioned. And if you are struggling with this sales bit, I think that's a very big reason to come talk to us. We are not bad at it. Shameless.